In a world where equality is just another euphemism for mediocrity, where participation is more highly valued than achievement, where just enough to get by is the new standard of excellence, there is a small minority of people who fight back against such apathy, who struggle daily to reach new heights. These brave few are the hope for the future, the bright shining light for the next generation. They are the ones who will lead us to the places we have never dreamed of, to the undiscovered country, to reach goals only a few can even begin to imagine. Unfortunately, none of those people could be here tonight, so kick back and relax, prepare yourself for several hours of fun, friendship, fascinating conversation, and fabulous music. All those F's, that's an alliteration and kind of a radio trick. Speaking of radio, you're listening to the most popular radio station in the history of broadcast radio, at least among stations that originate from Chris's living room. It's Curious Times. Your host is a curious listener. Here she is, Chris.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Curious Times. It's Wednesday, May 2nd already. Are you kidding me? Geez Louise, 2 more months and it's half a year gone. Half a year gone. Oh, my God. I can't even stand it. So anyway, we have Barbara DeLong here tonight. Just looking forward. Oh yeah, okay. So that's tomorrow, hey? Alright. So there's no show here tomorrow. It's a Thursday, and those used to be Jen Young nights, and so she's busy doing civil activism and everything like that. Because us Canadians are very civil when we become active. We're very polite when we're, protesting you. That's like civil activism, being a polite protester. Just kidding. Anyway, but for some crazy reason, Corinne De Winter wanted me to come on her show tomorrow. She's got Renee Richards. Here, let's get it exactly for you. Supernatural radio show. Supernatural woman. Supernatural radio show. Okay. Okay, this would be yes. Maybe that's hers. Hopefully that's hers. Yeah, okay, so it's Cindy Plume, Renee Richards, and Diane Hamilton and me, for whatever reason. I keep telling people, you guys, I'm a radio host, you know what I mean? And in the old days, I used to call myself I had that little clip, the radio show host, right? And so, the radio show host. And, so Cindy Plume is going to be there, Renee Richards, Diane Hamilton, and it's a round table. And I don't really exactly understand it, but everybody's supposed to ask everybody questions, I guess. So I don't know if those questions are meant to be questions about what's your favorite ice cream, or I should be a jerk, you know what I mean? And go, okay, here's my 5 questions, Corinne. Strawberry or vanilla? And so anyway, I don't understand how it's going to work, but it is tomorrow, and it's at 8:30 p.m. Eastern till 10:30 p.m. Eastern. That would be at blogtalkradio.com/supernatural radio show. I will be putting that link into the chat room as we speak. You can right-click on that sucker, and you can open it in a new tab or click copy link location and then click a new tab. And you can bookmark that page. And so that's tomorrow, 8:30 p.m. Eastern till 10:30 p.m. Eastern, I gather. So that's what's happening, tomorrow. I don't know. Selva's here on Friday. Selva Dutton. Kimber is here on Saturday. Sunday, Hillary Black. Monday, Diana Monroe. Tuesday, Melissa Bruce. And a week from tonight is Kathleen Moore. We got shows all the way through after tomorrow. So we had a bit of a dry spell there last month because whenever there's 5 days of a certain day, I only schedule things based on 4 Mondays, 4 Tuesdays, 4 Wednesdays, and so I wind up having a lot more blanks in the calendar when there's 5 of something. And if there's 5 of something, something, and something, 3 5s, then that makes for even more blanks, obviously. Anyway, Barbara's here. She's been the host of her own show for so many years called Nightlight on Blog Talk Radio. She also has created her own oracle deck. It's called the Cosmic Deck of Initiation. Beautiful deck, and the unique thing of it, there it is. I'm the proud owner of it. The beautiful thing about it is that unique to Barbara's deck that I'm aware of, round cards. Round, and they all have different mandalas on them. And so, here, let's just pull one out. Here, there. You know what I mean? They all have different mandalas on them. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. And a must-have for your card collection, guys. She's also the author of a book called Whispers of Spiritual Wisdom. Both of these products are available on Amazon, so just head on over to Amazon and type in the search word Barbara DeLong, and you'll find her loot. You could really just go to her website, and also there you will find her YouTube link, but it's www.barbaradelong.com. Go there because, she's got some cool stuff on her page. It comes to life, but you gotta hunt and search around in there and find the stuff. Hint, hint, if you go to a section called this, you might find some really cool stuff going on and everything like that. A little bit of action. And, you'll also find a link to Barbara's YouTube. And I'm sure that you'll find her YouTube on YouTube just by typing in Barbara DeLong. But she's been a guest on so many shows also that she might show up on a bunch of people's channels, I guess they call those. So www.youtube.com/ they look up the user Pobox270. Pobox. But you should have put Po Boy. Oh boy, instead of box boy. But it took me the first couple times before I realized that was P.O. Box, Post Office Box 270. But anyway, because we have, P.O. Box 270 is the username for Barbara DeLong, or type in Barbara DeLong. And anyway, yes, I'm getting to it, Barbara. I know how painful it is for you. And so anyway, here comes Barbara DeLong.
No, it was only one load of laundry. It wasn't bad.
Well, see, that's actually convenient,
Yeah. No, it is.
Yeah.
P.O. Box is my mailing address.
Yes. I'm more than pretty face up here, Barbara.
Yeah. A little more than a hat rack. But Barbara DeLong will get the YouTube channel too.
Yeah, for sure. So as you like a host that goes on and on, I love a guest that you ask them one question and 40 minutes later they've answered it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you have cooked supper and had a bath and
yeah. Definitely.
I used to get away with that when I was on the radio, but it's obvious when I'm not here because I'm not on the video then. And so anyway, so what's going on? How is things? It's finally spring here now.
Oh God, yes, and it hit 90 here today, so my air conditioning is on. Can you believe that?
Oh my God, hey!
I can't. It blew me away. I finally said, okay, I'm putting it on. And hopefully it'll get cooler, but let's see. the new website is all up, like you said, and it's got a lot of. I like it. You know, when it does. It has bells and whistles, and but I think what I like about it best is that when I noticed that the drop-down menus weren't getting hit, I just put buttons for all the drop-down menus up there, and now it's son of a gun, everything's getting hit. It's really kind of cool.
Son of a gun will have good fun at the website.
On the Bayou, yes. And yeah, no, it's been really a lot of fun doing it. A lot of work, but I think it's now all together, and now all I have to do is start adding the stuff that I hadn't added because I had to redo it. So
I was so impressed. Because if it's one thing I hate doing so bad, it's anything to do with a website. You know what I mean? And
yes.
And so I'm like, oh, wow, this is great because the colors are great. Like the background stuff goes good with the font. Like that's always a challenge for me. Like, because I'm not, it's similar like to the way I dress. Like I cannot dress properly either. You know what I mean? Which is part of the reason why a t-shirt and jeans is good. Or a t-shirt and sweatshirt. I mean, a t-shirt and sweatshirt and jeans is good because you don't have to worry that you got and I can reasonably color coordinate that. But to put together an outfit with freaking proper this and proper shoes and proper color and proper everything, fabric. Oh, you never wear that kind of fabric with that kind of fabric. Oh my God!
Exactly the way I like radio. I mean, you don't know if I'm color coordinated or if I'm sitting here in my pajamas. So, no, it's
morning hosts on these morning news shows. Though it's like you only see that they're wearing their nice little tie, and if they're wearing like shorts or something stupid under from the waist down, we don't know really what they're wearing. Hey,
I would assume that that's what they're doing. They're behind a desk. They could be anything.
Yeah.
But no, it's
do that. If I'm putting on a suit, like upper hat, like it wouldn't work for me to leave my house wearing a suit jacket and a tie. Well, of course I'm a woman, so I wouldn't. But you know what I mean. Like I wouldn't go out with sweatpants on the lower part and the suit and a tie on the top part. You know. Just
I would. I would in a heartbeat. I really don't care.
They take you to the nearest home and say, "Are you missing a resident?"
when I was teaching full time, I remember I used to, if I found a pair of shoes I liked, I would get them in brown, black, and blue. Because it fit and I liked them and they went with everything, and so make it easy. And I can remember one day, and I taught special ed. And I can remember one day one of my kids said to me, "Do you know that you have a blue shoe and a black shoe on?" And I looked down and I said, That's great. I'm so glad you're observant. That's what I was going for." And none of the other teachers recognized it. Not one of them.
I wanted to run an experiment and see how long it would take someone to realize that.
Yeah, the special ed kids noticed it. The regular people, not a clue. Not a clue.
Yeah. Isn't that funny? Because really, there's some people out there and it amazes me because I am so unaware. But like it's their pattern and they can't even help but notice what kind of shoes is this person wearing, what kind of blah, like are they wearing a ring, are they and they notice all these surface things about someone before they've even said hello or something like that. You know what I mean?
I mean, what you wear and how you wear it do not define who you are.
Yeah, I agree. I could be standing and talking to somebody for an hour. And then if you asked me after that, even 1 minute later, if someone came up to me and said, "Hey, you've been talking with this individual and they were gone now, you know what I mean? You've been talking with that individual for an hour now. What color shoes were they wearing?" I didn't know I was to notice that, but
wasn't talking to their feet.
That's right. Maybe in the old days when I was smoking or something, I would look down. Oh, I don't know. I can't remember. But I still, even if I'm looking down, it's not something that I register as important, right?
Yeah.
I only have so much room in my head to, like, what's important? The person was an asshole or the person was nice? The person, blah, blah, like, the color their shoes were is not of any import to me.
Gotcha. If it's comfortable, wear it and be happy.
Yeah. Carol is happily not wearing any rings. She's happy to report it.
Well, good for her.
Smart. And so anyway, so that's the website. And you guys go and explore. It's like if you're old now and you used to enjoy cave exploring or something like that when you were young, like now just go and explore the world of Barbara DeLong and all that her website has to give, because there's some cool stuff.
Well, you're the one that actually helped me with it too, because you said at one point you should alphabetize it so it's easier to find something. So it's alphabetized.
Woohoo! See, someone listens. I'm always like, nobody ever listens to me. And like, somebody listened to me. Wow.
I listened to you. Yes. Yeah, no, it was someone said, I don't know who it was, that like every 5 years you should redo your website, which horrifies me. However, when my webmaster said that we were going to have to do that, I took a look at it and I thought, you know what? I really should have read through it once or twice a year just to make sure that it said what I wanted it to say. And you caught one of the big typos too. That was really quite a big one. I have an article on there that is the hierarchy of prognostication, and it's a mouthful. I will grant you, but in the first sentence I misspelled prognostication and had procrastination. Definitely a typo.
Yeah, see, like and that's the thing I always used to teach students, like when I was coaching students on their resumes or their letters, their letter of application or whatever, expression of interest, whatever you want to call it, is you can't rely on just spell check, because you spelled the word procrastinate perfectly well. So spell check wouldn't pick it up, And so, like, you got to do more than just rely on spell check. You have to, read it for. And if it's something extremely important, boys and girls out there, then you should have a brand new set of eyes. Because I have found, Barbara, and you probably have too, like, it's in your brain what's there. You know what I mean? So when you're skipping over something, like, you could easily skip over, like, stuff that's just so easy to skip over because you're going off of what you know it's supposed to say. It's almost like they do those tests where the human brain is able to rapidly read jumbled words. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If all the letters of a particular word are there, it's pretty easy for people to, rapidly read and know what the word is supposed to be. And usually we're looking for spelling errors more than we're looking for, a misused word or something. A lot of times when people get proofread, they're misusing your, like, Y-O-U-R versus Y-O-U apostrophe R-E and all of that, right?
Well, and the other suggestion you gave me, which was a great one, was to put an extra space between paragraphs to make it easier to read. And I went through the whole website and caught most of them.
Yeah, God bless you for that, because that's a lot of work to go back and redo. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes I almost, like, don't even want to open my mouth to somebody, because I know.
No, I probably haven't caught them all, but I caught a lot of them, and, it was, again, another good exercise. You write something, you put it up on the website, and I try to read things out loud to myself, because that's where I usually catch my errors. And you can't catch them all. So
no.
I am grateful for people to say, oh, by the way, And do not take offense at all. I mean, if they question the material, that's a whole other thing. But if they're finding misspelled words or something like that, I'm very grateful for having them catch them.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, so anyway, what's up in Barbara's world besides the website's doing well now, up and running and going on the new fancy schmancy? What else?
Well, I've had a couple of really, really cool guests on the show, and want to refer some people to those on YouTube. The interviews are there. I last Friday had Maria Wheatley on the show, and she's in Great Britain, and she's a master dowser. And she was fascinating. And it isn't just, we're dowsing around and finding water. It was she is right in the middle of, the greatest collection of stone circles in the world in England. She's a hop, skip, and a jump from Stonehenge and next door to Avery and a couple of other huge sites. And the material that she has gathered through dowsing was phenomenal. And one of the things that fascinated me, and her books, by the way, on dowsing or on my on the website. If you go to the I highly recommend page, or I recommend, and then go to books, her books are there, and the link to where you can get them. But she dowsed around Stonehenge, some of the henges there, the long ones, the big long ones.
Yeah.
And there was a huge long henge, and she went to see, who they had excavated it, and she went to see who was in it. And normally the henges, if they're great big ones, they have a lot of occupants. But the one big one, it's the biggest one there, had one person in it, and it was a female, and she had an elongated skull. And so she decided to check out some of the other long henges, and she found that almost all of them had long-skulled people in them. And apparently there was a race that preceded the Druids and the circle henges by a couple thousand years. And so there was a segment of the population that were all long-skulled people there, right in England, that no one had picked up on.
One-eyed, long-skulled, flying purple people.
Yes. But what was fascinating was all of them in the henges that had been excavated had been murdered.
Oh, jeez.
So they had all been killed at the same time. It was almost as though some sort of massacre had taken place, and the henge had been created, and then they went into the circle henges. So the long henges were usually those with long-skulled bodies in them, and the circle henges had people with heads like ours. And
I had no idea.
I didn't either.
This brings that now this makes me, my mind is all going like, wow, what if? You know what I mean? So that's what if that's a burial monument? Like, what if that was the purpose of the damn place? You know what I mean? Was that it marked graves or marked, you know what I mean? It marked some.
Well, Stonehenge, among other things, they have found that, which I was blown away by, that a lot of those religious sites, the henges, are built on water aquifers, and the water aquifers are considered holy, and it was really basically most all of the religious shrines and stuff like that are built on natural springs and aquifers of water, so that they were marking where there were there was a large supply of water underneath that spot, which gave the spot a greater sense of spirituality, which means that they really weren't necessarily originally meant to meet the sunrise on the 21st or the
I don't know, I just think that it was a multi-purpose, but that's not an accident, Barbara. You know what I mean?
Oh, no, but Stonehenge was built in 4 different phases. And not all the phases had that astro whatever to it.
Right. So was it I don't know that either. I did not know that either. How stupid am I about Stonehenge? But and I regret that when I was there in England, I did never get there. But anyway, I didn't know that either. I didn't know that it was built in 4 stages. How many years separated these stages?
Thousands.
Oh, wow. So do they know what order those were erected in?
Yeah, they do. The first, it's funny. It was done in a work in process, and the first thing was stone circle. Well, the henge, of course, itself, and then stones around the outside, and then some of those were taken down, and it served different purposes in each phase, which I found fascinating. And then the stone. Did you go to Avery when you were there?
No.
Avery is the largest stone circle in the world, and it's phenomenal. And the stones there, they found radiate energy. They have a natural radiation that comes from them, and they found that, and this I found fascinating, with dowsing, they found that there were bands of energy that basically represented the chakras in some of the stones. And so when they took their electronic equipment there to see if the electronic equipment gave the same frequency changes as the dowsing, it did. And they found that there were 5 bands of energy that differed on the stones that were above ground, and then 2 bands underground, 7 chakras. And the stones, some of the stones at Avery have been set in concrete, and some are just in the dirt. But they found that some of the bands would radiate and connect to the other stones that were in the circle, and some of the bands connected to other circles in other spots on the landscape. So that it was energetically a communication energetic network that the ancients set up, which I found fascinating.
Yeah, for sure. Huh. So now we have a page, after I'm going to go, now I have to go learn more, you know what I mean? I didn't realize this. I didn't know about all that.
Yeah, listen to Maria's interview on YouTube.
Yeah.
She's a fascinating person. And during World War II, in England, of course, so much was bombed out, and they have huge tunnels there.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people lived in these tunnels, and some of the tunnels are over some of these underground, what does she call them, aquifers, and she divides water into 2 different kinds: rainwater, and then the water that the earth creates. And that's not river water that comes from deep within. This is apparently the earth is able to create water without rainfall. So, and she calls it yin and yang water. And the yin water, which is the water that the earth creates, those wells or aquifers, some of them were under these tunnels that the people were living in, and they found that there was healing taking place there. The people who had arthritis, the arthritis was cured. The people who, some were cured of cancer. I mean, they documented hundreds and hundreds of cases of these people who, by living in the tunnels, were cured by the energy of the water that they were living above. And now architects are paying attention to this kind of dowsing and looking for this kind of water to build hospitals on, to build, not a lot of them, but quite a few have contacted Maria, and she certainly has helped to locate this stuff for these people, because it's so much healthier to live above and to be close to these kind of geospirals that kind of water creates. And the geospirals are spirals, and there are 7 layers of it, kind of. And you find those kind of symbols all over the place in a lot of the ancient sites. So you wonder if the ancient people knew about these aquaspirals or these geospirals. And a lot of them appear on ley lines as well, so that it's a matter of, it's another energetic addition to make these sites more spiritual, so that in many ways they were sacred sites to Gaia, instead of what we have often thought and called it. So it changed the way I looked at not only Stonehenge, but a lot of the other sites that I've seen around, that are circles and things like that. They did find on one of the stones at Avery, which I thought was really cool. I think she said it was the 4th band, that if you put your hands on it and kind of blended with it, so to speak, you didn't have to do anything other than touch the stone and stand there. Some people gained weight, and some people lost weight. And if they backed away from the stone, then of course everything reverted to normal. But I've heard people say that some of the stones they could lean their backs up against, and they could feel the energy radiating through them, so that it really, stones have an energy, even though they are as old as they are. And what she said, which was fascinating, was that because they are energy based, they are beginning to pick up the energy of cell phones and things like that. So they have to tell people to turn their cell phones off and everything, because otherwise it could interfere with the energy that is there. And it does make you wonder, because when I talked to Dean Lupini in South Africa, there is a Stonehenge-like stone configuration there. There are stone circles there, and they also are still radiating energy. So, and they've been able to pick up the frequencies and pick up the fact that the energy is actually coming from them. You look at these stone circles and you think, stones, cool, let's go get a drink. But the reality is the stones absolutely are still thousands and thousands, and we're talking possibly as much as 7 to 10,000 years, still radiating energy and connecting to each other.
Wow.
So when you get to that point, it's like, okay, so what was it used for? Obviously healing, and when you think that, when you say dowsing, or I say dowsing, or whatever, you think of the dowsing rods, and you think of the old guys with their sticks and stuff, in the 20s and 30s, finding water and stuff like that. But this goes back to Egypt. This goes back, thousands and thousands and thousands of years. It's a tool for not only finding water, but they can be programmed to find anything. And, car keys, not soulmates, but you can use them to find. That would be really cool. Hey, my dowsing rods say you're the guy for me. No.
A surefire way to stay single forever is use that as your way of meeting guys.
Well, her father was a master dowser, and she grew up, with him teaching her and stuff. His book is on my website as well, on the I recommend book section, and it does tell you how to tune your dowsing rods to you. It gives you, are you going to look for water? Are you going to look for gold? Are you going to look for silver? Are you going to ask it for a direction? And it gives you the step by step as to how to do that, which is really a cool thing. And then somebody else dowsed with a pendulum, and it was really cool because depending on how long a string he had the pendulum on depended on what he was looking for, which was really, really cool too.
Huh.
So, but she was amazing. She has been to Giza and Malta and all sorts of places looking at and finding the energy in the stones and finding the geospirals, which are incredible. You kind of want to. Now I want to go. Now I really do want to go to Avery and to Stonehenge. And the thing is, you can't really get close enough into Stonehenge to really see it or experience whatever it is that's there. And they have sort of constructed it so you don't really know what it's. There's a heel stone at Stonehenge, and it's not in the circle, but it's outside the circle, but inside the henge. And it marks moonrise more rather than a sunrise, and that again is Gaia energy. So it's sort of she's taking it all back to the fact that all of these structures and even these stones were earth energy, which is Gaia energy, which is goddess energy. So and that does take you back 10 to 20,000 years.
Well, you got to hitch your wagon to her, because someone like her probably gets better access to some of these.
Yeah. Oh, I would think so. Yeah.
So be her assistant or something for one of those trips.
Well, and she was talking about. Let's see, where was this? Scotland, I think they have these. They're not chambers like the ones we have in the East, but they're called fogus. Fogu. And they're they're chambers, but they go straight down, and your stairway kind of spirals down so that you finally get probably something like 40 or 50 feet into the earth. And they are constructed amazingly of huge stones. And it's almost like going back to the womb, but it is taking, and you can imagine if you were prehistoric or whatever, that you didn't have little lights marking the way down. You had to have either a torch or something, and when you got to the bottom, you were in pitch black. You were surrounded by earth, and it was absolutely a sensory deprivation type thing. That had to have been, to a degree, some sort of initiation process, I would think. And she talked about one where you went straight down, and then there was another one where you literally had to crawl into it on your stomach, and then you were in. It looks like a huge long hallway, and it's almost like you would go through it, and then you would go out the other end, which is now blocked. But he said the Druids, when they did ceremonial things during the times that these chambers were in use, they did it as a group. They didn't do it, as a one-on-one thing. It was a group activity where they would all go down and they would all traverse this. And it's not dirt walls. These are stone walls that are just amazing. And don't know what possessed him to do it and what the real reason was.
in curiosity.
Well, yeah. But it's these wonderful chambers and stone rings and everything, and they don't come with a book of directions or anything. They're just there, assuming those who come after them will know what they're for and how to use them.
And Stonehenge, to figure out, sometimes to figure out stuff, means you got to be there for a lot longer than 3 hours, and a lot longer than a day, and a lot longer than a week. And I wonder who was the first one that realized, lining up with the sun and all of this kind of stuff.
Well, my grandfather was there about 1910, and I have pictures of him there, and the stones were just kind of all knocked down, and there were boards holding them up, and there was definitely no visitor center or anything like that there. And it was just like, a bunch of stones in a field. And what's fascinating is all of these henges that they've got, and they're all over the place. They have grass growing over them now, but originally they were all chalk. There's chalk underneath the grass and everything, but originally they were all chalk, so they were all absolutely these amazingly gorgeous white henges that were spectacular. They must have they must have glowed in the sunlight. It must have been phenomenally beautiful. Now there's just grass there, but deep down 3 feet or so, the chalk is still there, but the ground is built up around them. So now all you see are these rolling whatevers. But all of the henges apparently were the ground is naturally chalk. So it was like the chalk you write on the chalkboard with. It was all bright white. So it must have been gorgeous. But
That's interesting.
Yeah, I was fascinated with the elongated skulls because, that takes you back to Egypt and Akhenaten and Tutankhamun and Nefertari, and they were all long-headed, long-skulled. And, people have said, well, aliens and stuff like that. But here was a whole, I don't know how many. I'm gonna say several hundred of them, all of them with long skulls, and in England, and nobody's ever talked about them, which to me seemed ridiculous.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then, let's see, Monday night I talked with Mark Snyder about the Talmud of Emmanuel, which is supposedly another version of the New Testament written by Jesus himself. And it's Billy Meyer material, so it was really kind of fascinating. And much as I hate to admit it, when first I heard of Billy Meyer, I thought, oh my God, this is crazy stuff. And the more I've worked with Mark Snyder, the more I think, well, there may be something to this. Not, I'm not buying it totally, but a great deal of it makes a lot of sense. So it's kind of it's fun to go into his material, and he wanted me, he suggested I read this a long time ago, and so I finally did read it, and I thought, well, this is a different version for sure. It's the same story, but coming from a different viewpoint. And in the Billy Meyer one, Jesus was very annoyed with his disciples because they weren't getting the point, and they kept trying to make him what he said he was not. And according to the Meyer material, who they called God was really not a God. It was merely somebody in a hierarchy that went back to the source of all creation, so that God was just, another captain in an army of some sort. and it's good material. I stuck that book on my website. No, I haven't, but I will. But the Meyer material is interesting material, and he's written probably.
I still haven't bought all the way in. You know what I mean? But like my initial reaction was the same as your initial reaction. You've of course delved into it much deeper than I ever have,
when first I learned of the story of Billy Meyer, I thought, okay, this is, I had hip boots on, and the more I read about him, and then the fact that he's written 50 or 60 books, but I think the time I got swayed a little bit off center, more towards maybe, was I said to Mark once, let's see what his prophecies, let's go back and pick up his predictions and see how close he was. And he was so close, it was just phenomenal. When we went back and pulled up his predictions, both of us went to different places, and his predictions were so accurate and so dead on that it was just phenomenal. From aircraft to cell phones to, he hit it right on the noggin most of the time. Sometimes 10 years before its time, sometimes, closer to, ground zero, but more than 50%, I would say 75 to 80% accurate, which is pretty amazing. And at one point, Billy, in one of the interviews, Billy said to whoever the alien was, I don't know who, he asked for predictions, and the answer back was, "You don't listen to us. We're not going to give you any more." In other words, humanity wasn't listening to the information they were giving them and using it to any degree of whatever. So, not going to give you any more. Forget it. But the material.
He's really getting up there in age now. Like, is this allegedly? Is he still allegedly having extraterrestrial contact?
Yeah. He still is. He was born in 1937.
Yeah.
So he's 84. He's 84.
80. Yeah, 80. 1 or something. 81 maybe. It's 28, right? It's 28.
Oh yeah. No, you're right.
So now, if the dude lives to be 120, I'll be like, okay, the aliens are helping this guy live longer. You know what I mean? But so he still
has contact.
Yeah.
But the attempts on his life, there have been dozens of them. And, you kind of, and he has written a book that is probably the most spiritual book I've ever looked at. It was called The Thought of Mind or The Mind of Thought, one or the other. Anyhow, it's an amazingly phenomenal book for anybody that is really and truly on a spiritual journey. It's wonderful material. It's not so much alien stuff as it is spiritual love and stuff like that. It's a good spiritual book. It doesn't talk about Pleiades or the Projorans or anything like that. It's an absolute just spiritually oriented book, and it really is quite profound. So, but it is hard to find. It's the left hand of the page is in German and the right hand is in English, and it's definitely something you study. You don't just read through and say, "Got it." It's quite deep material. But when you look at his history, the fact that he had no school because they told him not to go to school, so he didn't. Hey, if I was that age and somebody told me not to go to school, I wouldn't go. He ran away from home. He joined the Foreign Legion. He was in the Foreign Legion for a while. When he left the Foreign Legion, he went to Spain, married a lady, and then they had told him he was going to be in an accident, and he was, and he lost his left arm. Went back to Norway, I think. He had been in trouble, and he went to jail for a little while, and then he started to put his material out there, and there have been, people called him a hoax and called him a fake, and yet the material, I mean, he talks in some of his books about string theory. This man couldn't possibly understand any of that, but he does. So,
I think string theory stuff is amazing. You know what I mean? And so, I think that's it's when your head starts to explode, though. You know what I mean? When you go down this path of, because you know me, as soon as I start to read, then all of a sudden my brain starts going, well, what if? And then it's craziness. It's like a freaking pinball game with 12 balls in the goal at one time or something like that.
Well, yeah, and I've sometimes when you see something and you think, oh, I'm seeing into a past life, and it could be that, but it also could be two timelines overlapping, and you're seeing another timeline going on at the same time you are. And I'm not sure quite how you tell the difference, to be honest with you. It's all you're right.
That timeline stuff is like used lots of times to explain away. Like, let's take some Billy Meyer predictions then, and say, okay, well, these ones were right and these ones were wrong. So these ones were wrong. Why? Well, were these ones wrong because, at any juncture, you have more than one choice or one decision, and so if each person has that, then so too would, a society and a world, and so if we go down this path, then this will be the outcome, and down that path, well, that will be the outcome, and so, it's possible that sometimes.
Well, okay. Let me throw this out there then. I personally believe that we are a fully developed spirit, and that we come into physical lifetimes in order to gather more material, more wisdom, and to expand ourselves. And if that's the case, then our physical body that we can touch and that we can adorn in any way we want, and all of that, this is an avatar. This is like our winter coat for this particular lifetime. And next lifetime we'll get a different coat. We'll be a different person. We'll have a different character and personality and everything, but the spirit will be the same. Now, as we evolve, lifetime to lifetime, the spirit part of us is etheric. It has no shape, no form, no nothing. It is a consciousness.
Right.
And we are, and so that consciousness, when it gets, when it comes into, when it sits down, when it chooses to manifest within a physical reality, there are certain things that it is seeking, that it is looking for, that it programs itself for. Now, we have in our conscious consciousness, we have free will, we have choices, but the lessons that have been set for us by the spirit will come to us no matter what. They will come to us. I mean, we can say, well, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to become, a trapeze artist. That's fine, but the lessons that you needed to spiritually evolve in this lifetime will still be there for you in one form or another. So that when as a consciousness, when we look at something and we say, well, that must be a lesson, it probably isn't. What goes on in the physical reality is it's almost not connected to what the consciousness of the spirit is and what the consciousness of the spirit is looking for.
Well, and I always remind people that, so now we blend in string theory, right? So this will require that some of our major events in our lifetime, they're in stone. And whether we get ourselves there or the universe helps us get there, we need to be there at that time for this thing. And because that's needed in order to have these other things, this happens and then that happens. Example, I give birth to a baby who's now an EMT, who may become a paramedic or already is. And so now how many lives is he going to save? And is there a really important life he's going to save? And the important life that he saves, what will they do? And who will they impact? And and so on and so forth. And so, I always say, it's not, and so if we also all agree with each other, you and me, Barbara, maybe kicking back on the other side, and blah, blah. Okay, well, here, we all got our lists, you know what I mean? And I'm going around now, I go, I need somebody to help me with this, and I need someone to help me with that, and I need someone to help me with that. Fill in all the blanks. So I always say to people, every single thing, even if it's a big event in your life, doesn't have to be your lesson. It doesn't always have to be about you. It could be that you are aiding in somebody else's, you know what I mean, development or whatever word you want to plop in there. And, and so I always say, when I think you and I have talked about before too, is the universe, when it's time for you to be somewhere, you know what I mean? You might get a little whisper and then a little nudge and then you're not listening, comes the baseball bat and then finally the freight train. If so we have the easy way to go about this or the hard way to go about this. And, so sometimes when these really huge things happen, good or bad, there's a reason. And, we don't always get to know what that reason is or has been. Because how many lives have you impacted, Barbara? And you will never even know what your interaction with somebody has caused to happen. And then because of that, what their interaction with somebody has caused and so on. And if you wouldn't have been there at that time for that person, you know what I mean? Then that might have happened. And so,
but we're talking levels of consciousness here. And we're talking, human reality. And the human reality is just of this planet, just of this lifetime. The spirit that's in us has had multitudes of different lifetimes in multitudes of different avatars on multiples and in multiple different dimensions. So everything you say is accurate for a human world, but our spirit is not human. Our spirit...
No, but I mean, listen, if we forget about, if we bring into the fact that is there a past and a future? Is everything playing out now on every single dimension? And we are multidimensional, multidimensional. And so that in one or many existences, our soul or spirit is not in a human body at all. You know what I mean? And so, if it's all happening at the same time. You've heard of people talking about the two timelines too, right?
Sure.
Yeah, and see, for me, that's a good start, but that suggests that there's only two. And now it might be the case that there's only two, for this dimension. But if we're in 1,000 dimensions at any one time, you know what I'm saying?
I agree with you. I think that I think there are much more than two.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
and when you're looking at spirit has no form. Spirit can fragment. Spirit can be anywhere and everywhere all at once.
Yes.
So,
it's why, people go, they go, oh, so my dead grandmother doesn't communicate with me anymore. Does that mean she's been reincarnated? Well, whether she has or hasn't, she could still come and give messages to you or to you through a medium, even if she's a 3-year-old German baby right now. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, that level of consciousness is always there to be drawn upon.
Right.
I think what bothers me is if someone says, "Oh, my daughter passed away and now she's reincarnated and she's my granddaughter." I cringe at that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it can't be. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying that it puts an amazing amount of pressure on that poor child.
Yeah.
So
it has the way of taking away their own identity as well. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that to me is scary. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm saying it's unlikely.
It's like when people say, "Oh, my pet," now I got a new puppy and it's my dog from 10 years ago come back to me.
I have seen that happen, and there are. It's funny. Where was I? There is a Chinese. It's either Chinese or Japanese. I'm sorry. I know there is a difference. I just don't know which it was, but it's one of those Asian countries. Anyhow, they have. They are cloning people's pets. So that they, when the original passes away, they have a replacement that is the same, and it costs a lot of money. But there are a lot of very rich people that have done this, and when the guy that was interviewed was saying, the guy interviewing, I said, well, how often does that happen? He said, hundreds of times. People have a pet that they just adore, and they want to make sure that they will always have that pet with them, so they clone them, and they are exact clones.
Well, now we have to ask ourselves, though, right? Highly unlikely, in my opinion, that the spirit of that dog or cat or whatever would want to keep living in the same body at time after, for the same reasons that we would probably be seeking out different experiences. How do we grow if we keep coming back to the same? You know what I mean? And so then you have to ask yourself, is the animal that's cloned, that's cool, but it's not. I wouldn't think it would be the same spirit. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't think it either, and yet the habits are there, the recognition is there, the whole thing. So can a spirit split and be in two places at once? Probably.
A spirit can, but all of those other things could arguably come from biology, right? From the DNA, physical traits.
Physical
you know what I mean?
traits, yes, but recognition of people and stuff like that, not so much.
I guess. Well,
and favorite toys, and I don't know that I'd want to. I don't know. I'd want to trap. I would want to trap one of my animals. I'd want them to go on to wherever it is they have to go on to.
Yeah.
But
it's kind of subjective. Like some of that stuff would be kind of subjective, right? Like recognition of people. What if it's just a really friendly, dog? Now, you know what I mean? Like, of course, I got to start off with skepticism, and then it's like anything paranormal. Like, I come from a position first of try to debunk it.
I think that's a great place to. I think everybody should. It's just that these people are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars and not blinking, and getting Fido back, and it's amazing. I think what they do is they take the DNA after the animal passes, so that it's not splitting the spirits out of them. I don't know, but
so how do we know that there's not a whole bunch of rich people that haven't done this with humans too?
We don't.
Right.
I mean, they've done it with sheep. They've done it with dogs, for sure. We have no way of knowing. And they may well have. I mean, of course, then you kind of wonder, of course, if you do it secretly enough, nobody notices that, somebody is looking a lot younger lately. But although Ellen DeGeneres every now and then appears to have been reborn, and of course it could be those commercials for skin cream or whatever, but then it's kind of like, well, can I leave my fortune to myself, or do I just it's not like being a vampire where you kind of reinvent yourself and become your niece or nephew and take over or whatever. That's an interesting thought.
Leave it to you, Barbara, right? How people, how are you gonna, and these are things that the legal system might have to wrestle with in the future.
I would think, yeah.
Because
I mean, I don't have money or anything, so I have nothing to leave me. But these multi-billion trillionaires.
Listen, even if you just left yourself your house, like that's, you know what I mean? You give a kid, you give a baby a head start with property ownership. You know what I mean? And that makes all the difference in the world too. But still, like, there's going to be some definite challenges with the legal system as this kind of thing goes on. Mm-hmm. I don't agree with it either. I really don't agree with it either. And that's why, like, sometimes science, like they and I would really rather that science worried about curing cancer and multiple sclerosis and Parkinson's. They already have them.
Yeah, but they're not sharing it.
Well, they are, like, they probably have shared it, but the freaking pharmaceutical companies have bought it to lock it. You know what I mean? Buy it to lock it up.
I'm sure if you have enough money, I'm sure that you can probably get a cure.
Oh, I'm sure too. But, so, like, and I'm not on the religious level of don't mess with what God does. Like, not on a religious level, but I'm on a don't mess with the universe. You know what I mean? Don't mess with the universe. And, so for me, religion and that, like, that's a separate, it's a separate thing. I'm not worried about messing with God or whatever. You know what I mean? On a religious level. But I worry about, like, messing with the universe.
Well, and, my theory for now, it may change, tomorrow, but my theory to now is that all of that there is a source of all creation that literally sent out seeds, fragments of itself all over the galaxy, everywhere. And some of the seeds haven't taken root yet, and some have. And those spirits, we all have a piece of that creation within us. That's what gives us the life force. And that we're on a journey through billions or trillions of years of evolving and growing, and in my opinion, we're not really growing and gathering to return to our source. we're growing to become a source ourselves. So that at some point in time we will send out the seeds into the universe. That's my thought for the moment.
No, that's an interesting one. And, I always have thought, because we talk about, the soul versus spirit or whatever. Like, for right now, let's say soul. And I know there's a difference between the two, some say, but I can't articulate it at this moment. But, so let's say, we know that, or we think that we know that in the caveman days, let's say, you know what I mean? That there were way fewer people, way fewer people alive on Earth at any one time.
Yeah.
Would you agree? And now we have 7.2 billion people. And so, and we know that a spirit is energy, and energy never dies.
Right.
And so then you have to say, way back at this initial creation, and then you always go, well, who created the initial creation? And all that crazy stuff drives you nuts. But did they make 6 billion souls, or what? Were all those souls waiting for all those millions of years or whatever? You know what I mean? Or
no.
do new souls?
Well, let me give you there's body, there's soul, there's spirit. Body is the physicality. Soul is the mental capacity, the consciousness of this reality, and then spirit. And spirit is what travels lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. Now, when the planet, when these seeds were scattered all over creation, a few of them fell on Earth, and as the seeds evolved and grew and whatever, some chose. I do believe it was a one-shot deal, and that they landed in other dimensions and other galaxies and other planets and whatever. So when you cross over and you have the choice of looking around, and it's sort of like going to a travel agency, where am I going next? You can go to another dimension, you can go to another planet, or you can come back to Earth. And I think Earth just wasn't the tourist trap for that particular time frame, so very few people actually chose to incarnate on Earth. But as time passed, as billions of years passed, it became a more and more attractive place to learn and grow. And so spirits chose to come down and take human form and experience the physicality of the Earth.
Yeah.
Make sense?
But how many? And then does that give you the capacity of how many can? Because if there's 7.2 billion people on Earth, give or take, and how many are there in waiting, if you will? How many spirits in waiting? And
well, if you have a limitless universe out there could be, I don't know, trillions, quadrillions,
So, what were all those spirits doing for all of these millennia when there was only,
But this is not the only planet they can incarnate onto.
I understand, but I'm going to assume that, the same scenario exists in most places, which is that they started out with fewer and they grew.
Well, it all depends, but it depends on the physical reality you've chosen to manifest into. Mars, theoretically, at one time, had huge populations on it, and then either a meteor struck it or something happened, and it is no more. But those spirits have gone elsewhere. So I would think that it's the same case here, that I don't think it's a matter of, the earth will be so populated that they'll have to not have, it'll kind of be like immigration, Sorry, you can't go to Earth. It has too many people there now.
Yeah.
I do feel that there are so many different options that whatever the Earth experience provides the spirits with, it does, and then they move on. They go on to other galaxies, other planets, other dimensions, and other life forms. And so, if you look at the fact that are there aliens out there are aliens out there, but they were created by the same energy that created us.
I'm still not so convinced that they're just not us in the future. And even though I say us in the future, meaning everything's happening at one time, blah, 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 but without trying to because as, I think I mentioned this last time, if we're going to leave this planet, we're getting closer and closer to being able to get elsewhere in bigger numbers, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And relocate some people. And when you relocate some people to a new environment, then there's going to be changes that will be undertaken in the biology of those people just because they adapt to their new environment, I would think.
But no, it's, as a spirit enters, let's say, they will take on a physical form that is synchronistic with the environment that they are incarnating into. So it isn't that they have to change. They just, if you went to, if you climbed a mountain, you would find that your lungs and everything had to adjust so that your avatar changes. You could go to a planet where it only had methane gas, and the body that you incarnated into would be able to breathe methane gas.
No, I get that, but let's just for fun, let's say that there's a planet that gets found that doesn't have life on it, and that's where some human beings decide to settle and do and procreate.
But you're missing here the point. On Earth, the avatar is a human being.
Mm-hmm.
On another planet, the avatar won't be a human being.
Well, if a human being, if I go to Mars right now, you know what I mean? And there's a way for me to survive that, whether it be within an artificial environment or whatever the deal is, right? Then I'm there. That's still my same body. That's still me. You know what I mean? It's like if I travel to Germany. If I go to Germany right now, it's still me. If I go to the top of the mountain, it's still me.
Yes,
it's
anywhere
me.
on Earth, it's still you. But let's say you're going to incarnate. Now, you leave your human form here.
No,
right?
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm saying human beings are gaining the ability to leave. I already believe that when we die, we, like you and I or any one of us, already could have had umpteen different lifetimes as some other life form somewhere else. You know what I mean? So that's already said and done. I'm saying, human beings are gaining the technology to leave this planet and go and find another planet to procreate on, to colonize. And so as they do that, then there will be some maybe subtle, but nonetheless changes that would be expected because humans adapt, or any life form, I would guess, adapts to its environment, right? And so there may be environmental differences. So what I'm trying to say is that as the human beings here have, and I don't mean to say human beings on Earth was the center of everything always, but I'm just for the sake of this, so that our heads don't entirely explode. Let's say human beings find a way within the next, 10,000 years, right, to leave and go colonize 100 different planets somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And when they arrive at that new planet, it's uninhabited, and they're human beings, and now they're going to undertake. And so, after several generations of people have lived there, there will be changes that will gradually occur, I think, in the biology or whatever of the people that live there. That will make them adapt to their environment and make them thrive in that environment. You know what I mean? So what I'm trying to say is that all the different extraterrestrials, if everything's on one timeline, there's no past, present, future, blah blah blah. This is a particular. This is where I come with the idea that who says that that's not us? Like in the future. I'm just saying future because otherwise we have no way of. You know what I mean? So that's not to say that's not us that have relocated to some. You know what I mean? Some other planet. And after several generations of procreating there, the end result is this new form, this different looking body, this different functioning body.
Yes, but the essence of creation is within all of us, no matter what we look like.
Oh, yeah.
So it could be us. I mean, I'm not saying it isn't. I'm just saying that if you take away, if you go down to the very core of what makes us a living energy, it's exactly the same.
Yeah, strip away the body, right? Strip away the body. Yeah. Yeah.
Take us down to an energetic form, and we're exactly alike.
Yep.
I really, it isn't. I don't believe that it's a matter of, not coming from the same source. I think we come from the same source, no matter what we look like. I mean, you look at on this planet. We have all different shades and colors of people, yet we're all the same inside.
That's right. No, I'm not in any suggesting that we come from a different source. The thing is that we evolved to suit our environment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's with animals. Same with animals. Animals take on characteristics, abilities, whatnot, to thrive in their particular environment, right? Like a chameleon, whatever.
Well, you don't even have to leave this planet. There are, I don't know if it's in the Philippines or wherever it is, but it's a hot, humid area on the planet, and they have found that the people who live there have webbing between their toes, so that they can get through the water easier. So they have physically adapted to their environment, in that they have webbing on their toes because they're in the water constantly and they need it in order to be able to swim.
Yeah.
So that's
great. And that's kind of what I'm getting at, right? As we gain the ability to leave this planet, things will start to change. And if I go to a different planet, then if we were both to leave today and go to a different planet, and let's say that we were both 20 and could, produce children.
Okay.
Then 3 generations from now, your offspring would quite probably have different characteristics than my offspring that would be suited to their particular environment of the planet that they're now residing in.
Well, they've already found that with one of the astronauts who spent a great deal of time in space, and I don't know who it was. He was a twin, and he and his twin had similar DNA because they were twins. Right. He went into space, and he spent a long time in space, whether it was months, whatever it was. And when he came back from space, his DNA had changed. So his DNA and his brother's DNA were no longer similar.
Yeah.
So time and space will actually do that to the DNA. So I absolutely think that is, probably a probability. I think what would be
interesting is because he was in a spaceship, okay? He was in a spaceship or whatever.
He was at the space station, yeah.
The space station, okay? So now he is in that now. As we've discussed before, like the most efficient means of travel between universes and galaxies and planets and all this is not going to be like the spaceship, right?
No, I don't think so.
So if I had to go by spaceship to someplace, I'd be dead and gone, and maybe 3 generations from now would be dead and gone, right?
Yeah.
During just the trip alone, but you could instantly get there, like through then you have to ask yourself, would there have been any impact on, other than the moment that you are in the new environment, there's things going on that are going to be based on whatever the atmosphere and everything like that is there, right?
Right.
But you will not have been affected by the time and space, because you will not have spent time and space, right?
Well, I think that if it's a matter of a portal or a black hole or interdimensional shifting or beaming up and beaming down, whatever, that is going to impact the human body to a great degree, I would think.
And wouldn't they already have that? Like, I mean, do you believe in this stuff of the teleporting to Mars? That's been gone on and everything else already? I
do.
Wouldn't they already know what impact a portal would have, a teleportation would have?
With all of the different projects like the Montauk and the Philadelphia and Paperclip and all of them, I do believe that I know Tesla was looking into teleportation too. So that I think that there probably are black ops of some sort that have completed it. Now, the stories that are told about, the Mars and the Moon type stuff, none of them have used spaceships to get to where they're going. They all use some sort of a portal in order to go from one place to another. I believe that actually the technology is there. Yeah. Now, whether they even care whether it's, doing anything to their DNA or not, I don't know. But there are a lot of...
I would think if they've already, for example, done the testing and the comparison on these two twins, just based on the space station, one stays on Earth, one's in the space station, if it's, you would think that they would be trying to do that, right? Like it would be...
I think you have two sciences here. You have the science that all of us are aware of, and then you have where there are governments, and then there's a deep government, and then there's a deeper government. I think the same thing has to do with sciences. And to be really perfectly honest with you, when you look at the Montauk Project, and when you look at the Philadelphia Project, and when you look at all of the other ones that were not policed by some form of I don't know what's right and what's wrong. Because when you look at MK Ultra, especially, I mean, they were brutalized. I mean, the Montauk Project, they discovered that people were more psychic if they were having an orgasm than if they weren't. And so they did a whole bunch of stuff with that, and people were forcibly used. So, there was no policing of what's right and fair and whatever. So I think there are probably science projects going on that don't have any form of restriction for what's right and what's wrong. So I don't think that they are truly probably looking after the well-being of their test subjects as much as they should.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you talk to
You know,
people like, you talk to people like Solaris Blue Raven. She was part of MK Ultra, and I mean, it's just, I mean, she was traumatized like crazy by that program. So, it's a matter of it's science gone mad, actually, and that's where the real science happens. Where they are risking lives and they are risking consciousnesses and stuff like that to find out stuff. So, but yeah, I think that what you're saying definitely has impact. It's just I'm not so sure those that are doing the experimentation are taking precautions to protect the people that are going through this.
yeah. Yeah.
I could be wrong.
I'm thinking like, then they could, use some of these places instead of prisons, like send the bad guys to a place like
Yeah, but God forbid we create a Superman or something, who can, then. But yeah, no, I've often thought that, you take our really, really bad criminals and you do science experiments on them, but that's really not exactly it's just not ethical.
Well, I mean, it's not ethical what happens to a lot of people in prison right now either. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I totally agree.
And so, I don't know. I worry about human beings' ethics these days anyhow, But yeah, it just gives rise to like a whole bunch of,
well,
and who's to say, like, there's an awful lot of missing people in this world, right?
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, look at the Montauk Project. I mean, they picked kids up off the streets and used them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they didn't care.
Yeah.
But to be fair, the Montauk Project was actually funded by Nazi money, and there were a lot of Nazi doctors working on it. So, they didn't really care. They just, had a new place to play. And, I wish I could say that they got, really great information from it. I don't think they did. And they hurt a lot of people. But
yeah.
Unfortunately, Hitler was working with teleportation. They had the thing called the Bell that they were working on anti-gravity and sending something through a portal of some sort that they still haven't been able to explain to my satisfaction. Not that they have to, but it's been going on, and it probably has been going on longer and deeper than we know. But I truly believe that, among other things, the teleportation and the interdimensional stuff is definitely going on. I'm fascinated with what may be or maybe not be going on at the South Pole. Because I know the Germans they said a lot of stuff down there, and there were a lot of. It said that at some point they were digging and they found remnants of an old civilization. I don't know, but then you look at Admiral Berg, who swears that he went into a hole down there and got into Middle Earth, and when he got back, and his diaries do suggest that, and then he was told not to talk about it anymore and was threatened. So I don't know. Again, something else that's really fascinating, but when you think of what's going on down there, it's kind of like the South Pole does seem to have a lot of draw to it. There's a lot of energy down there, and I do wonder. I mean, there is solid ground there, so I would. There's got to be a way of figuring out what's there and what has been covered up by miles of ice and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's so many mysteries. It can be mind-boggling, and there's stuff like not even on our radar. You know what I mean? Like stuff you couldn't even think of. You know, I'm sure. And so.
Oh yeah.
It's mind-boggling.
The cool thing is that so much information has not been made available, and there's so much information that every now and then something leaks out and everybody panics because it's the truth, and then people think, oh no, that couldn't possibly be true, but it is. And it's I love the fact that we have the internet. I love the fact that things do kind of sneak out every now and then to make, to pique people's curiosity. I mean, you look at some of the ancient sites out there, Göbekli Tepe for one. I mean, these are ancient sites. It means that this planet has had stuff going on for so many thousands of years that we don't have any knowledge of. I mean, North America had civilizations here that nobody can, tell you anything about, but come on, 9,000 years, Michigan, Minnesota had copper mines that were being utilized by people all over the world. And they're taking those numbers back too, so that it's going to be 10 to 15,000 years old. This continent has had so much history that we haven't bothered to investigate, which really ticks the hell out of me. Because,
right.
You have Egypt, and you have Great Britain, and you have Rome, and you have Greece, and South America. Why would you think that North America was null and void and there was nothing going on here?
Right.
And yet our history books don't talk anything about it. And it's there. They have the artifacts to prove that it's there, but they aren't teaching it, which really bothers me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I know, like what, I don't understand the threat of, what education, I don't understand how that threatens anything. You know what I mean? Like to educate on this kind of stuff.
Look at, now I'm going to say it this wrong, and I do apologize. Is it the Micmac?
Yeah, close
okay. Their flag is the exact reverse of the Templars' flag. Which came first?
Right.
I mean, and that goes back to the 1300s, 1200s, 1100s. I mean, so, and how many Indian groups have flags? I mean, do all of the do all of the native, the first people, whatever you call them, do they all have flags, or are the Micmacs unique?
No, I would say they do. Like even the Métis have a flag. So.
Because I don't recall seeing, the Navajos or the Iroquois or, I don't recall any of them having flags.
Yeah, it's nothing I've really researched. All I can say for certain is like that the Métis people have a flag.
Mhm.
So.
But the cultures that are there now are just fragments of civilizations that were amazing and developed, and I can only speak to some of the stuff here in North America that I sort of have knowledge of. I mean, the Iroquois had their nation went all over North America and down into Mexico, and that was their nation. That was their civilization. They had huge cities and stuff like that. Nobody's taught that, and it bothers me. I mean, Monk's Mound in I forget where it is, near Chicago in Illinois, around in that area. That's a fascinating mound that has, I think, 6 or 8 different colors of earth there. And it was all built at one time, and the earth came from all over the country. How the hell did they do that? Or why? Or why, even better. I mean, there are mounds all over this country, and they're the chambers that Patrick and I investigated. Used to be 800 to 1,000 of them used to be in the Northeast. They're down to 200 or less, and they're being ignored and destroyed. But let's preserve this colonial farmhouse. But let's knock down the stone chamber for our patio. So no, that bothers me when I see that. So North America totally has had civilizations here that are ancient, as old as or older than Egypt and Rome, and nobody's thought about it. And and we have the long-headed people here too, someplace. I mean, there are giants, there are little people, there are all sorts of amazing, magical, phenomenal things that have been dug up, and the Smithsonian has hidden and or destroyed a lot of it, and I don't know why.
Right. Hidden or destroyed. Yeah. I don't either. I don't quite understand the threat, really. I don't. It doesn't. There's more. There has to be. I don't know. I mean, other than that, knowledge is power and all of that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So that, that those people that have it want to keep it and want to not have it. I always was taught, by the medicine woman that, if we give away our knowledge, we leave more room to receive more knowledge. You know what I mean? Like, as they say, if you have one penny and you're holding so tightly and keeping your fist closed, you're not in a position to receive more. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So to hang on to that one penny, you could be giving up the ability to receive, 10. And so it made sense to me. I've never been the kind of a coworker, because people do this in employment situations as well. You know what I mean? Like they purposely will not share, their tips and tricks and whatnot with anybody else, because they don't want someone else to get better than them, or whatever. And like, whereas me, I'm like a fountain, right? Like, if any little thing I can share with somebody that will help them, especially in an employment situation, because helping our coworkers helps the company, helps us all, theoretically, anyway. You know what I mean? And so apply the same logic, you know what I mean? Like, share our knowledge with our, fellow human beings, is better for each of us, better for our neighborhood, better for our city, better for our country, better for the world. And I've never understood, like, locking in that which I know and guarding it so strongly. It doesn't make sense.
Well, that's why my website is I give it all away. It's there. I frustrated one lady. She said, "Well, you've got so much information. We can charge for this and we can charge for that." And she said, "Oh, wait a minute. It's on your website." I said, "Yeah, it's all there."
Yeah.
There's no. If I find something cool out, it goes up, and it's really funny. Somebody said, I talk to people and I tell people to journal all the time, and somebody said, well, are you journaling? And I said, have you looked at my website? That's my journal. I find something cool, I research it, it's out there. and
No, I don't have if it's going to take me a half a year to teach you to do something, then I don't have an issue with, like, so as far as, like, if it takes me time to teach somebody something, then that's different than me just sharing. Like if it takes me 5 minutes to tell somebody a tip on something, you know what I mean? That's different to me. And so in one scenario, to me, it's fine to charge for that knowledge. You know what I mean? It's not the knowledge you're really charging for. It's the time it's taking you to do the training or the teaching. But if it's going to take me, if it takes me 5 minutes to say something or to teach something, then it's just like for me to charge somebody $100, each person $100 to receive that. For me, there's a problem with that. Like I couldn't do that.
No. I mean, people are entitled to be compensated for their time and their energy. Absolutely, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
But there are people that take advantage of that, and I don't agree with that. I mean, I do readings, and I charge people for the readings, but I really, that I'd rather give stuff away, and I'd rather put my work out there. But no, you're absolutely right. If you're using your skills and your talents, then yes, absolutely, you deserve to be compensated. No question.
Like when I took my Reiki training, it was free. It was free. And there's people that I took that training with who went away immediately and started, trying to barter and sell their Reiki, and that bothered me. Because it doesn't take any more than, really, it doesn't take more than a couple of minutes to do, to say, especially if you're doing remote. You know what I mean? It just take a lot of your time. And so for you to have received the training and the attunements and whatnot for free, and then turn around right away and start trying to charge people a lot of money for it, like that bothered me. You know what I mean?
Well, I have found, and you're right. You're absolutely right. I've found though that the more first of all, I worked for 25 years. I have a pension, and I'm on Social Security and stuff like that. So, but I have always found that if your intent in giving is pure, and I mean really pure, that you receive back so much more than you've given that it's unbelievable. And it's a matter of if you create that kind of a flow, you are in balance with the universe. And somebody said if you give too much with no return, you become out of balance. The reality is that if you look for return, you won't get it. If you're giving freely, if it is unconditional sharing, then the universe shares back. It is the most amazing thing I have ever experienced, and it's always been a joy to see, because I always feel like, well, wow, I got much more than I actually gave. And it always, when those things happen to me, it is just so joyful, because it's confirmation of an inner belief, which is really cool.
Well, and some of this stuff, like you can't put a dollar amount on something, or a value. Let's say the value on something, and furthermore, I could give the same thing to you as I give to 10 other people, and each one will be of different value to each of those people in most cases. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, unless it's a $10 bill. But even then, like if I give $10 to you, and I give $10 Canadian to you, and $10 Canadian to a Canadian, and $10 Canadian to a Filipino, like that has a different value for each of you. You know what I mean? And so even then, but so we can't. And you're right. Really, what I'm saying is like that. Those people that are looking for a return, you know what I mean? Like, how do you where's your measuring stick for that? You know what I mean? Where's your measuring stick?
I think what used to get me when people would call into the show when I was doing readings, they would say, I don't understand it. I took all these classes and I'm certified in this and I'm certified in that, and I want to, set myself up in business so that I don't have to work. And when you hear that, and it's like, yes, you do. You have to work. You have to earn money so you can eat and have a roof over your head. Now, if you're going to do spiritual work, that's a whole nother kind of exchange. But they, people who wanted to earn their living by doing the spiritual work, I mean, it's almost an oxymoron. Spirituality is giving of energy and love and kindness and compassion. It has nothing to do with money. And so it's kind of like, you can't, in my opinion, I can't do that. I don't rely on the spiritual work for supporting me. I worked hard and I earned stuff and I get compensated that way. But when again, it's intent and it's your reason for doing stuff, and it's different. It's different for everyone.
Right, and it's no different than if you say to somebody like, if you try to be more positive, then more positive things will come to you. Now, if you're there's a lot of benefit to becoming more positive, right? Health-wise, even just health-wise alone. But if you're if you're forcing yourself to be positive, and you're keeping an eye on your watch to say, okay, now, you know what I mean? Things are supposed to be getting better for me by now, and it's like that. All for the wrong, you know what I mean? It happens when you're not paying attention. It's like if you want to lose weight, you can't just do a one-time thing. It's a lifestyle thing that you have to do if you have a weight issue, you know what I mean? It's a lifestyle thing that you have to undertake. And it just happens as you go about your new lifestyle. And so as you go about your new way, if you're going to become a more positive person, then without you keeping track with a pen and paper and a clock, you know what I mean? And then after 3 days, something good didn't happen to you, now you're all like, then you're doing it all for the wrong reasons. You know what I mean?
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
There's no timetable, so. Anyway, well, looky there. We got 2 hours. Not even a song break. Not even a song break. And and that's surprising. Time flies every time when we get yakking about stuff. So
definitely.
Who do you got coming up next at your place?
I'm going to do some more stuff with Mark on the Billy Meyer stuff. I have a guy from India who's written a book called A Shining City on a Hill. It has to do with, you'll enjoy this stuff, corruption in the government. And I have a cool guy who was, I don't know if you go back that far, but in one of the in the 60s, he was a member of a group called the Riptides, and he also went to seminary. He's written a book called Jesus Gate, which looks fascinating. And I have a gal coming on who happens to own a 20-pound crystal skull. And this next Monday, I'll have Michelle Avanti on, and she will be doing readings for those who call in with their birth date and time and place. And that's always a lot of fun. So, cool stuff, fun stuff.
Awesome. Maybe I'll try and let me see, Monday. Okay, well, I got Diana Monroe on that night. Well, I might try and pop over to that one. Okay, everybody, so make sure that you on the show page itself are all the links for Barbara, but you can also find them all quite conveniently at www.barbaradelong.com. Tomorrow, like I said, no show here, but at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, myself and Renee Richards and Diane Hamilton and Cindy Plume will be over at Corrine's Supernatural Radio Show on Blog Talk Radio at 8:30 p.m. till 10:30 p.m. with a roundtable of some sort. I don't have any idea. I'm like, what's the topic though? Well, there is no topic. I'm like, well, I can't deal with no topic. He's like, come up with some questions. I'm like, what? About anything? What's the topic? There's no topic. I'm like, what? I don't want to play this game, you know? And,
well, you know something. Every time I come on, you don't know what topic I'm bringing, and you're fully capable of talking about anything I put on the table.
Yeah, but just ask me to like come up with random 5 questions when I have no clue. That's different, right?
Oh, okay.
That's like, I'm like, what? You want me to? I'm gonna be a jerk, and I'm gonna say like, so do you like chocolate ice cream or strawberry ice cream?
Unbelievable.
What kind of questions you want me to ask you guys? You know what I mean? I ask questions all the time on my own show. I don't want to come as a guest on someone's show and to ask questions. But anyway, we'll make the best of it. I'm sure it'll. What happens is that once the first question goes, I think, then once you get all these people yakking about something, probably any structure to questions probably goes out the window and just a real discussion starts to take place. That's going to be my guess as to what will happen. And so for you guys, you can also find Barbara's at blogtalkradio.com/night-light. And Corrine tomorrow, as I say, I'll give you guys the link in the chat room real quick. And then Friday, Selva Dutton is here. Saturday, Kimber. Sunday, Hillary. Monday, Diana. Tuesday is Melissa, the heavy metal psychic. And a week from today is Kathleen. So we got a heavy workload coming up, everybody. Thank you so much, Barbara.
My pleasure.
And we'll see you soon.
I'll see you in a month. And if you're going to call in on Monday night, shoot me a Skype with your telephone number so I can pull you out of the queue.
Okay. It'll probably be just like anonymous. So we'll figure it out.
Okay.
We'll figure it out. Thank you, Barbara. Everybody, take care, peace, and we'll see you Friday unless I see you at Corrine's tomorrow. Okay, guys? Peace out. Take care. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.